at that camp in Penticton, there was one of the days I remember it very clearly, where MP Poulin
Yep.
was really struggling with a skill, and she was really putting up walls in terms of you working with her. I remember you being pretty frustrated, and then you worked with her for 20 minutes or half hour after the session, one on one. Can you talk a little bit about that and sort of what was going on there, and how you made what you did in particular to sort of reach out and as you say, connect with her?
Um, yeah, I mean, that was a perfect, like, that to me was one of those perfect situations where this is an opportunity for me to learn. At that time, she was the best player in the world. And she's right in front of me. And I can see, like that's the other, like, just because you're the best player in the world doesn't mean that there's not a lot of things you can do to get better. Like, there's lots of areas of opportunity. And for in her situation, I saw a I saw a tremendous opportunity inside of her shot. My attitude always is when I'm working with an elite player is I go right after the strength first. I go right after the best skill. That's the first thing I attack. And in her case, that's it. She's an elite shooter. I mean, she also has all kinds of strengths. That's not the only one, of course, but she's an elite shooter. And I saw that there is a disconnect between her upper body and the way she uses her lower body. And I felt like if she could use her lower body, her feet differently, she could create a lot of different angles. She could create different types of angles. She could be much more deceptive. She may be able to add some miles per hour to the shot. I just saw a lot of opportunity there. And when I spent time with her, and this is where, like, my ignorance in working with these types, this player, like an elite female player, this is where I don't know what I'm doing. So I approached it. My approach was to her. I think that this is a way in which you can get remarkably better. Like, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity here. As good as you are and as elite as you are, and how many goals that you've already scored, I see like a whole another level. That was not the right approach. That she was, I felt, um, what's the way to say it? It's like, at first, I think she was being respectful and pacifying, um, to me, in the sense that it was uncomfortable and she was not comfortable with how uncomfortable it was. And if it was, and she was very respectful, but she was not really like all in with trying to move, like shift off this movement pattern at all. So I beat my head against the wall a little bit with it. I tried a couple of different approaches, but kind of once you start the first way, it's hard to then switch off of that. So if I'm going to come at you and say, as good as you are, I see like a whole other area of opportunity here. Like, once you put your shovel in the sand going that way, then it's hard to be able to come back and go, well, like, I think that if you worked at it, if you worked on your shot like in this way, you might see a little bit of benefit over here. Or, I'm working on your feet, but not. I'm just using your shot as an example, but I'm working on the fluidity of your feet to be more athletic inside of skill. Like, those are three different approaches. I kind of put my shovel in the sand on one, and now it's hard to backtrack off of that approach from there. You have to pick another skill, and then maybe you can work it around from there. So it was just one of those situations where when you arrive, it's a bit of a Rubik's cube, and you have to pick the right combination. And there are many situations like that where I picked the wrong situation. I picked the wrong approach. If I had to do it again and we had like a do-over, I would do it differently. But at the time, I did the best with what I knew of how to approach it. And that's, it's just, you're going to do that. Like, I've done it 1,000 times where I've just come at it the complete, like not necessarily completely wrong way, but there was a better way to do it.
And it just really, really quickly, how would you do it different? How would you approach it differently, do you think, if you're
So
doing it tomorrow?
I would have come at her feet through other skills without her knowing that I was going to go into the shot. I would have built all of the skating skill sets that I wanted, that I felt like that she could have used inside of her shot. I would have built that all separate and then put it all together as a, hey, we've been doing it this way and this way. Let's try it inside of your shot. Let's see what this looks like. I don't know what it's going to look like or feel like. Obviously, you're a great shooter anyways, but now that you've built it, like I'm curious what it might look like in your shot. And then she would have then been, I think, more of like, it's now a suggestion of here's a set of skills that we've built. Maybe it now might work over here and it might work over there and it might work over here. Wow, like this is a pretty cool skill. And then I would have set her on a path of self-discovery, which I think would have been way more powerful as a first way in. Instead, I went, hey, look at me. I can help you. And that was not really like, that wasn't the right way. I knew what I wanted to do, and I would have, the skill itself would have been exactly the same. The skills I wanted to impart would have been exactly the same. I just would never have started with her shot first. I never would have done that. I would have gone around the back door, come around the bend, and then when I finally got there, I would have said, hey, I think you can use this in your shot in this way for these benefits. Let's try it. And then see if I could get a back and forth from there.